Hi everyone, welcome back to the Paint It Simply channel. What I'm going to do is we're going to start kicking off our Paint It Simply channel here. And what I'm going to do is I had some questions about the petal edging technique. There are a bunch of videos I've filmed to teach people how to teach roses and 4 major styles or techniques that I use to paint roses. And I filmed this video about 5 years ago here at the studio, and it's called the petal edging technique. And I thought maybe some of you would like to see that. I am also uploading videos over onto our other channel, so make sure you check that out. I had just finished painting this for the membership area. In our other on our other channel, I'm going to use these types of stroke roses on some doors up into the gallery, so that ought to be a lot of fun. So if you want to follow along with that. And yes, I did this one. I did the Monarch of the Glen. That one is up, and I'm editing that one, so that one will be coming up as well. But I hope you enjoyed this look back to this afternoon for the Paint It Simply channel, looking back into painting some roses using the petal edging techniques, one of 4 major techniques that I use. Okay, enjoy, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Okay, welcome back. Now we're going to continue working on the techniques, the 4 basic techniques that I use in a lot of roses. And again, I combine these. As we get into stage 2, stage 3 flowers, I combine these together. And what I did in this particular video, what I kind of recommend for you as teachers is break it away to stage 1 and practice all 4 different techniques: the wet background, the sheer, the petaled edge techniques, and the layering techniques. And then later on in stage 2, stage 3 flowers, put them together. Okay, so let's talk about petal edging. Now this is the written lesson one that I painted here, again on a smaller board. I'm going to do it on 11 by 14, same as I did the other lessons here. And I'm going to show you how to create these petal edges. This is really what defines a lot of flowers that I paint up in towards the center of interest. It gives this heavy. Actually, if you could feel this, there would be you'd feel a lot of texture right into here. Let me go ahead and show you how I go about doing something like this. And you can, like I say, you could do this on a wet background if you want. I like to do it on pure acrylic, so I'm just going to use my colors here like I did before. I cleaned them all off. I'm going to take down a little water. Now that one we did a slight blue background. I haven't done a blue background yet, so maybe we'll take a look at kind of a bluish background again for this one. Let's go with some phthalo blue and some white, and I had to put out some more white because you run a lot of white with these kinds of lessons. So let's put up a nice light blue. As a matter of fact, you can see just how bright and light that phthalo is. I mean, it just takes a lot of white to get that back up here to a value 8 or so here, 7 or 8. And I had that rose facing this way, so let's face it the other way this time. So let me move this over just a bit, get that board over here, and let's face it that way. And normally when I face a rose like facing this way, I'll put the background movement counter to it. So like what I did here, this rose faces to the upper right. I put the background moving this way. Now, why do you do that? That follows that Dutch philosophy of what is called St. Andrew's Cross, and it just helps put a subtle indication of a focal point or an area of interest to it. So we'll go this way with it, and that's a pretty blue. And I like many times when I use this blue like this, I like to add a little bit of that violet tone into it as well. And when I do that, it just, the pieces just sell so well, this stuff. So you just introduce some of the violets into that. It's just real pretty. Now, we don't want to, we don't want to make it too heavy with it because, that will start to take away from some of our rose. I sometimes will add more water and just kind of drag this out so I don't create a harsh line of color. Sometimes I leave a harsh line of color. We're artists. We try to experiment and do all different kinds of things. So that puts on a nice foundation there of some colors that have a gentle streak this way. So then I'll set up the rose this way. And a nice pink rose might be kind of good. I did a pink rose there. I haven't really painted a pink one yet, so let's go with more of a pink rose. I'll start out kind of white here. You have your pinks. You can go a couple of things, like I said before. You can make a nice warm pink from your Naphthol red light. You can make a cooler pink over here from your quinacridone. So you can see a nice warm one and a cool one. Or if you don't know, you do what I do, is you take both of them together. Sometimes I'll add some a touch of my Daryolite. I just love that color. I've been painting a lot with that in the last couple of years. It's just a beautiful color. Look at that, how it just shifts that tone around there. Now I'm going to use just water. I'm going to paint just acrylic here, so I'm thinning it out a little bit. I want to come with a value that is just a couple in between here, or real close to the value of the background here. Now this background's a little bit wet. Normally I let it tack up a bit so I don't get this intermixing of the tone. But and again, we want something smaller than our fist there. So I'll add some of this nice pretty pinks in here. I'll build this up a little bit more in here because the wet background tends to eat up this color, especially if you have any phthalo in it. So usually when I paint acrylic, I let that dry up just a bit, and then I don't get that that kind of problem if I just let that tack up. So we'll just give that just a second, and under these hot lights, we film under very hot lights, and so it doesn't take very long to get that dried. Matter of fact, you can just, you can almost like watch it dry here as it's drying up there. All right, let's go in. Now we want just a couple values darker, maybe even a little red into this. So a little bit of our Naphthol red and some some quinacridone, Naphthol red and quinacridone. Look at that beautiful red that can come here. We'll come down into here, and like we do with the others, we start just a tight little stroke there. That's the real center dark there. Now what we have to do is just move that up. Lift the pressure on your brush, making small circles here going up. Let some of those streaks and stuff come into color. Okay, here you can take your back finger here and push this like I like to do, to create that lost edge, which causes the rose to soften out. But you get some of this movement here. Now I don't want to blend that out. I love that movement. Leave that movement in there, and get your students to leave that movement in there. It's not a blended rose. We don't blend. I'm going to put some of that dark in here onto the bottom side back here of the rose, maybe push in and out a bit here. I don't want to go all the way up into the light here, because you wouldn't see those darks down there on the light side of the rose if the light was coming in that way. But I might state a little more red over here. That's kind of a pretty little color there into that rose. Now, the other one I have, you'll see the difference here. The other one that I do here, you'll see it's darker and very, very cool, and that's the that's the red violet coming in. So you can see when I use a little bit of the warmer red, and here I have the red violet. So if you want more contrast, you can certainly drop in some more red violet, or just add a little bit more of this quinacridone right down deep in there and get that nice, but it is such a pretty color in conjunction with that. A little bit of that quinacridone right in there like that. Just move that through, and you get that real prettiness to it. Now, I'm going to pinch wipe my brush. I always do that. I'll go back, dress it up here in some of that pink that we used. I'm going to make a lighter color. So here's where I was. I'm going to come over here and watch my values here, and I want to go, I'm looking for the contrast that I want that front main strike of that rose to have. So I'm going to want it right about in here, about a value 9 or so, and I'm going to strike that right there and build up the front of the rose. We'll strike that a little heavier. You could use any technique that you want. There's times when I do what I call a halftoner, so I'll pick up a color like this and I'll just drop that right in there like that, and you can see it immediately builds and adds a little bit more color and then soften it. Or you can just shear that all off too, like we did in the first lesson. I'm going to take some of this and maybe close up the rose a little bit. We haven't done one like that yet. Close it up a bit here, add just little touches of that movement back here like that. So that just kind of closes up a side of it. Sometimes I do that, sometimes I do marks with it opened up. There's all different kinds of ways. what I want to do is build a little more color. So I'm going to take that value again. I'm going to build it just a bit more here. And the bottom one here, I might turn the other way, this way, as I start to find the bottom of that bowl of that rose. So you can do that and then soften that. So I'm always a firm believer is after you pass halfway here, start to find that bottom bowl of the rose. Let's take some light color, a little bit more light, not too light, because we're going to remember we're going to have the light petal edging on here. So, and I'm just going to put some petals out here like this and bowl them right in and lift off right as I hit that bowl. And 2 or 3 strokes to widen that out, push that in and out there so that petal right away incorporates into the bowl of the rose. Let's start one right out here. And again, push that right in there like that so it incorporates right into the bowl of the rose. And I'm using my colors here in such a way that, you know, I'm lifting off the pressure so I get a little bit of almost transparent, so translucency to it. Like that. As I head to the other side, I'm going to grab a little water here. Sometimes it's nice to take your mister bottle and just mist a little water right there on the corner of your palette that you can touch to. You know, or you could use extender as well. But remember, I like these things to dry, so because I don't blend my roses, I streak my roses and stuff. So getting the extender just kind of frustrates me sometimes. Even though I do love the movement, you know, it allows it to slide. The water sometimes makes it feel the colors are just too thin. So it's kind of like you know, if I had more time, like when I'm painting by myself, I have more time, and so you know, I generally will use extender just to do that. Now I've made that too far out, so I'm just going to push back just a little bit. I'll correct that with some negative painting. I'll show you that. Now, so I have this, and I want to go in and I want to add some other petals. Now we know from the other techniques, as we add other petals, we lighten up. So here's where my first color was. Here's my second color, and now I'm adding right here so I can see 1, 2. We'll push this over here like this so you see 1, 2, and 3 colors as lightness here. So, and let's just drop one in right here like this and drop that petal in. And it has violated a little bit of that bowl of that rose, so I'll push up and down like this into the roundness of the bowl and out into the petal there just a bit. That's why I love to do this here. It is, I'm always finding that bowl. That's what makes the roses so pretty, is the bowl of that rose. Don't lose that bowl. Let's add some. Sometimes I just pull out. So I need to get a little more light color into that. So I pull out like that and find the bowl of that rose, push it out into the petal a little bit like that, get a little movement. And we'll go back to some of our darker color down here since we're on the shadow side. And let's just pull some shadowy petals here in on this side, just a little closer. Here we'll shape up. I made a little bit of an error here on the side of the rose, and I'll fix that with the light colors that are coming. Now, let's talk about the petal edging. What I do with the petal edging is, so there it is with my light. Now what I'm going to do is pick up some of my white here, and I'm going to work the corner of the brush right here into that light color. This is what I call the petal edge. So I push the corner of it in like this, and what I actually do is pick up a nice heavy edge of that, and I turn that edge. Sometimes I will draw with the edge in front, and sometimes I'll put it back here because I never paint with it exactly the same. Sometimes I pull with it, so here it's on the trailing edge, and I pull with it, and I can draw that right into the flower there, just like that, and so it gives it that nice crisp little edge right there onto the petal. Then I'll pinch wipe my brush because that color climbed across it a little, and I'll pick up some more here, right here on the edge, like that. And I'm going to set a petal right in here, and I'll just draw with that right in there like that, and maybe use it a little bit. Sometimes I'll turn it and use a little bit of it here like that onto that edge like that. So then let's put a little edge on this one. So you see that little edge of light, and I'll come around like this and just kind of draw that in like that, and that just kind of shapes up that edge just like that. Okay, so the petal edging technique is awesome because you can draw in. Let's say I wanted to add another, say a petal right in here like this. Okay, so I'll pick up some of that light, we'll put it right here. Let's add a petal right in here like that. I draw there, I'm leaning over onto that light edge. I'm pushing over onto that light edge right there. And then I'll find the bowl, always find the bowl. Always come down here like this and find the bowl. Push that bowl in together. And so now you can see how you can petal this rose really pretty. Let's not go quite as light. We'll darken this down a little bit as we come over to this side, and let's put a petal edge right in on that one there. Here, and so you can see I can step over to the side and make it more streaky like that. So if I want to make a petal more streaky, I put on the edge like this, and then I step over a little bit so I get a streak to it. So it's not quite as precise. See, so and I'll do that too. So when you have the brush edge like that, you can come in on any direction. So that works pretty nice. Let's come in and let's just put one right across here like this. It's a bit darker, and it just helps round that bowl. Always find that bowl here just a bit. So I want to set that rose back up in there like that. Let's put the edge in again right in here. Pull down. Make that all part of that one. Maybe take a bit of the light so you can see the edge really kind of drives some detail to the rose. And I might just make one more little step right here like this and draw that right around in underneath that bowl. It gives more power to that one front petal. So by giving it more of an edge here like that. And then I'll take some of the dark and use that to kind of find the bottom of the bowl like that. Maybe lift up a bit, just like that. So you see I have that edge and then I have that shadow going into the bowl. It makes real pretty roses. Now, the center of it looks very plain compared to what's all going on here. So this is where you might want to consider adding a few top petals back here and just some movement here. Just some movement. Nothing perfect, but I want to get some of that color in there. Matter of fact, I'm just going to almost dipped into it several times. I'm just going to dip into it. I love the way the extender strokes. See how smooth it is? It just does it. But I don't use the extender for the blending. I use the extender just because it causes the colors to flow just a little different. Let's put a little edge, maybe a little edge here. Pull down that side and just shear it or push it there with my finger. And then I have a pretty little rose. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that pink out of there. Now I could, like this one that's right here, I sometimes like a little bit more white up there in the front. So I'll take some of my light, come over here by my warm side, add some warmth to it. And sometimes I'll just pull down a bit to build some more light. And I push it around. I'm a painter of movement, like I say so many times. I paint for movement, not exactly petals. And so I like the movement of something going in there, and that's pretty. That one's pretty with the way that goes together there like that. So I would leave it. I'd walk away from that one. And, you know, there's certain things that you might consider doing, like hitting just a little bit more of that shadow over here just on the edge of your brush. You know, that puts a bit of deeper shadow there, which kind of looks nice, but you know, generally I wouldn't play any more than that. Let's go burnt sienna and our green, and let's give our stem here again. Okay, and I like to kind of move around a bit with some of that and create some interest. Let's get some excuse me, some additional green and stuff with that. Let's get a couple of leaves coming off of here. We go one, we go two. Sometimes I'll step off a little bit like that to create the three. And Don't want to use extender. I want that to dry a bit. Keep reaching for that. I love how it strokes, and normally I'm painting larger pieces, and it's okay in a larger piece to use extender because it tacks up a bit. So after that tacks just a bit, I touch it with my finger to lift off just a bit of that, the darker color. So yeah, like that. And now I made a mistake right over here, so I'll use some color, some negative painting to come in here and kind of correct that a bit, move that around. I love just doing stuff like that. It just creates more interesting edges on the rose as well, right in there like that, see? So rather than fuss with the edge, negative painting like this can come in and really correct here your painting in many different ways. Here, let's get a little bit more burnt sienna and water. I keep reaching for that extender. It's right there. Let's drop in another younger one right in here that's a little more orangey color. And take that off like that. You can add a little bit of red, violet, and green. Make a darker color here. And red violet is so powerful. And use that to make some stems for your leaves. Maybe some of that into your darks here, to cool darks. Grab some color variations more than anything else. I love the playfulness of color and little marks like that just add some interest and stuff to the flower. So just like that. It's a fun technique. It's a fun little thing. So basically you follow the same thing. You could use a wet background and then do a petal edge. You could use sheer and do a petal edge. You can put on a wet background, smooth it all out. Then after that's tacked up, so you don't lose that petal edge, come in and, just edge that little corner. Sometimes, like if I'm coming this way, sometimes I'll put that corner. Let me just put a little light dot on there so you see. So sometimes I come in this way, I'll put that light dot right, or that light there. Sometimes when I'm going this way, I'll put it on the trailing side. Now you have more control when you have it on the trailing side than when you have it on the leading side. So here it's leading because it's the first thing hitting. So I usually do that if I'm doing it like on the side of something and I'm using the chisel. I do this way if I want to draw. And that's basically what you do. You're drawing the edge of the petal. Just like you put on a pattern with a pen. You're drawing the edge of the petal with that leading or trailing edge of the brush. It's a lot of fun. But again, you can combine that. And I could come back here after I put that, that dark that's right there. And I do like that, but I probably wouldn't do this. But you could come back right in here and set a little bit more of an edge right there. And see that pretty little edge? And you pick up that cool, and it gets that, and it's just pretty. It's a nice little technique, and it's a nice technique when you combine it with other things, okay? All right, so there you have the petal edging technique. Let's go take a look next at the layering.